Hi folks, it's Andy. Hope you're having a great day. Another one of these Kendo rants. Again, really great reaction to the video I put out yesterday. Thank you very much for that. I thought I'd keep it going. Especially as actually from today, the next few days, I'm going to the British Kendo Association's summer seminar. We've got three very well-known Hanshi 8th dance coming, so I am actually going there to help out translate. So I'm not sure actually while I'm away for the next sort of 5 days how much I'll be able to sort of get these videos out. So I definitely wanted to get one out today as well, especially with some of the reactions to yesterday's video about when Shimpan get it wrong. Hot topic as I expected it to be, but that's great. That's great news. So yeah, there's a couple of things I'd like to sort of brush on. First, there was a great question that I'd like to sort of tackle first. Somebody commented on YouTube about multiple examples of kendoka striking the kensen against the floor after performing a successful tsukiwaza, almost reflexively before they've even been awarded the point. This doesn't appear to be correct zanshin, so is this just plain old showboating or a bizarre bad habit that's formed? Great question. I think it's a bit of both, actually. I might be wrong, but yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I've heard it described as sort of akin or coming from the same sort of roots as the fist pump, which we all know will get a point taken away from you if you do it in a tournament. And I think there's a bit of that. I think there's a bit of a, obviously doing tsuki, especially the one-handed tsuki, is a very difficult waza to pull off. And, actually achieving it, it's kind of there is a bit of a, gotcha moment, which I think kind of has its, it sort of shows itself through that as well. And I think it also develops itself into a bit of a bad habit. I think there is a lot of that sort of thing in modern Kendo, and I'd like to see less of it personally. This sort of, it's not just the hitting the shinai on the floor, but this sort of after you hit point, and this sort of nodding the head sort of thing. It's popular in Japan, particularly with high school kids, less so with adults, because it's kind of, it's not as cool as you think it looks, So I'd like to see less of that. And again, same with the hitting the shinai on the floor. I had a habit of doing it myself. Actually, after doing kote, a lot of people do it after like debana kote sort of thing. Back when I used to think I was cool. And yeah, it's not cool. And it's probably something that we should avoid doing. I think I don't think it's as egregious as doing a fist pump, kind of in your face sort of thing. But yeah, it's probably best not to. I think even the top level competitors that do it probably would say, I probably shouldn't do that. But like you mentioned in the comment there, I think it's kind of also developed itself into a bit of a habit as well. That's my thoughts on that anyway, just quickly. But what I really wanted to talk about today was there was a great question, because we talked about mistakes that Shimpan make yesterday, and particularly about, I made the comment that we don't have video replay in Kendo, which I'm personally happy about, because I don't think that's in the spirit of what we do. But I got a comment about the Olympic question, and it was just so timely, because I also noticed that over on Facebook, in reaction to a particular Kendo meme that mentioned the Olympic question as well, that was sort of lighting up over there. So I thought I'd sort of weigh in on the Olympic question in this video too, because again, it's another controversial topic. I think I'll set my cards out on the table straight off. I'm not super keen on Kendo being in the Olympics, personally. I am someone, of course, I've competed in Kendo's probably highest level tournaments myself. I've competed in the World Championships. I've competed in the combat games, and the combat games are the closest thing that we have to the Olympics, actually. One of the things I particularly didn't like about, I really enjoyed the combat games experience. I thought it was great. But one of the things I didn't quite like about the Shiai is they had to be decided by Hante. If it wasn't, we had so many minutes of Sanbon Shoba, and then you had a timed Encho, and then if there was no decision after that, then it was decided by Hante, and that was so that the event ran on schedule to coincide with the televisation of the event, which of course I think would potentially come with it being in the Olympics. I think there's other things as well that could potentially cause issues. Obviously, the idea of the Olympics, I guess, is they would need to sort of secure more sponsorship funding, stuff like that, which means it would need to be a little bit more, how can I say, interesting to watch for people that don't necessarily understand concepts like Yuko Datotsu. Things people that don't do Kendo would need to sort of have some sort of idea. Though you could argue that, somebody that doesn't understand Judo, or even somebody that doesn't understand any other sport might not get that. But with a sport that's just not as practiced as widely as some of those other sports, an activity like Kendo, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure whether it really fits into the sort of Olympic idea. Having said that, I think that, for a start, the All Japan Kendo Federation, they're dead against it. It's not going to happen whilst they've got control over it, which they mainly do. It's just not on the table because they're not interested. They do not want it in the Olympics. Absolutely not. A comparison is often made with Judo. People often say, "Oh, the same thing that happened to Judo will happen to Kendo." I don't actually totally subscribe to that argument, to be honest, funnily enough. And I don't know a lot about Judo. I've never practiced Judo. I don't hold any grades in Judo, and I don't know that much about it. But, Judo's not a super popular martial art in Japan, actually. Kendo's much more popular. But I was told, I did have the privilege of meeting the president of the All Japan Judo Federation once, and he actually said to me, that Judo was actually kind of one of the reasons that Kano Sensei, the guy that came up with Judo, one of the reasons he's kind of had the idea of putting it in the Olympics from the start. It was kind of created to be in the Olympics, whereas Kendo certainly wasn't. We certainly don't have anything like that. Now, I don't know if I'm not saying that that's definitely true. Something. I'm just saying that's what I was told by the guy who's the top of the federation in Japan. All right, so if it's wrong, don't flame me. I don't know. But in terms of Kendo, the federation, the Japanese federation, they're just not up for it, right? So it's not on the cards. Certainly not in the foreseeable future. Would it really ruin Kendo? I don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows really until it happens. I think it is, and a good point was made on Facebook actually, that we have a bit of a tendency to be a little bit elitist towards other sports. I think that Kendo is an exceptional activity, and I really love it, of course, compared to other sports. But it is a little bit unfair to sort of say, well, Kendo is better than all other sports and it shouldn't be ruined like other sports or sunken to the same level that other sports are. No, Kendo's not just a sport. Kendo is Budo. Kendo, the idea of Kendo, the concept of Kendo is to improve the human character. It's not to win games. But that philosophy could certainly be applied to a lot of other activities as well. And I think it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, well, only Kendo gives you that, when probably that's probably not true, but it's just that we get that from Kendo. Whether that would change with the introduction of the Olympics, there was a similar discussion about a tournament that had prize money. I don't know. I don't know if it would. It wouldn't change it for me. Certainly not. If I knew there was a tournament I was going in that had prize money, for example, to go to that question, I'd still fight in it in the same way that I do in the World Championships. Especially, I think the one it was talking about was I think the prize fund was $2,000 or something like that. Which, to be honest, winning the European Championships is worth more than $2,000 to me. So, I wouldn't have been, I don't think I'd approach that tournament in any different way than I would otherwise. If you're talking like $500,000, then I don't know that I'd have to experience that situation to really know. If you're talking about life-changing amounts of money, but I don't think that's something that we have to particularly worry about in Kendo, at least not again for the time being. And it sort of follows really the Olympics, again, whether that would change things. I know that people say, well, if it was the Olympics, then you're talking about professional sports and stuff like this. Well, the thing is there's a lot of, I mean, I'm a British person, and there's a lot of British athletes that compete in the Olympics that are not professional athletes. You know, they have to sort of, you know, train and do all that sort of stuff, as well as work a regular job, because their sports just aren't big enough. They don't draw the funding that you know, a sport that's a lot bigger would. So I think that's I'm not sure if that argument really fits. So yeah, it's kind of it's a difficult question, and it always will be a difficult question. I think there is also a comparison to be drawn. I've got quite strong views on how Kendo is done at elite levels in Japan, to be honest, and I don't know if I should go into them because they are a little bit controversial. But you know, the police forces in Japan, the police Kendo championships. This is a discussion I had with Yano Sensei actually a couple of weeks back at the Edinburgh Kendo seminar with the 8th Dan Sensei, Yano Sensei, that came over. I actually pitched my hypothesis to him that I don't know if the police Kendo championships is a great influence to the direction of Kendo overall, because I know a lot of my people that are practicing Kendo in Japan, who I'm on very good terms with, or I'd even say friends with, who are actually competing at that elite level. They are, I hate to say professional Kendo players, because they don't consider that, because they're policemen, but their job is only to do Kendo. But the problem, or what I feel the problem with it is that, and they struggle with it too, is that they'll go to the police championships, which, as far as their sort of workplace, the police force is concerned, is the most important tournament. It's big. It's even more important. More emphasis is put on it than the All Japan Championships, in a lot of ways. Now, what they end up doing, and if you watch any videos of the police championships, you'll see that it's like, it's totally different, right? These guys are just fighting, and it's rough, and it's, you know, it's hard, and winning is number one. Winning is takes precedent over everything, and that's because these guys are in a situation where if they go to the police tournament and they do really bad and they get beaten really quickly or whatever, they're gonna go back, and their boss, never done Kendo in his life, right? Never done Kendo, knows nothing about Kendo. He's just higher in the police than this guy. And he's gonna turn around to them and say, well, what have you been doing all year? You know, what have you been wasting your time doing if you've just gone and got battered in the first round? You know, they've got that sort of pressure, and it is possible for them to lose their job or lose their position based on their performance in those specific matches, which I think is quite similar, really, to the position you'd be in, you know, if you're talking about life-changing amounts of prize money, because, you know, you're not talking about, you know, a month's salary here. You're talking about this guy could be, or woman could have their whole career changed or ruined even over a single shiai. So I think that's a problem. I don't really follow the police championships that much, because I don't necessarily agree with the principle of it. Because of that, I don't think it really fits with what Kendo is supposed to be, or the concept of Kendo. And I think that is probably the worst we would see in the current situation. And if it went to the Olympics, then yeah, of course, then that sort of issue could potentially spill out into the Olympic arena as well. But we don't know. I don't know. But there we go. Bottom line, again, I've been rambling quite a long time now, I feel like. Bottom line, I don't really want it in the Olympics. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it'll be popular in the Olympics. I don't think it's likely to be in the Olympics because the Japanese Federation don't want it in. I don't think the Olympic, whatever they're called, is it IOC or whatever? I don't think they are really looking for sports like Kendo. So I don't think it's a realistic outcome anyway. I know there are some groups that are pushing for it to get in the Olympics. Don't think it's going to happen though. But like I say, that's just my sort of thoughts on it. So yeah, that's that off my chest. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I say, it's just my opinion on it. Let me know what you think, and let me know what you'd like me to sort of talk about next time. I'm going away now for a few days to this seminar. I will try and upload something whilst I'm away. Maybe something that the teachers teach about or something like that. I'm very privileged to be in the position that I'll be translating, so I've got direct access to the teachers. So yeah, I'll do that. Leave me a comment, and yeah, don't forget to shop at KendoStar because that's what keeps the lights on. Okay, cool. Thanks a lot, and speak to you again soon.